What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review, coming out of Long Island, New York. With me today, we got my brother, B.
What's up, everybody?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Wakanda Forever. We got our man in the chair, our Shuri, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Shuri.
Yeah, guys, and if you don't know, now you know we're doing a Wakanda Forever prep or Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever prep. I feel weird calling it Black Panther 2 when I know it's not going to be Black Panther. There's going to be the mantle of the Black Panther, but to me, T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman is always going to be Black Panther, man. Yeah. So it's going to be hard to call this movie Wakanda Forever because, again, we know what's going on. So let's get right into our prep because I'm excited to see Wakanda Forever this Thursday. Hopefully you guys got your tickets already. I've already heard it's been like sold out in a couple places. It is the last episode of the MCU Phase 4. So I got high hopes, guys. High hopes. So
I hear good things.
I'm hearing good things as well.
Very emotional. Take your napkins.
I'm ready to cry. I cried last night watching Black Panther. I can't even believe it. I'll admit that. I started watching Black Panther yesterday just to kind of like get ready for the prep and stuff. Because listen, Infinity War, Endgame, and Civil War, they're never going to leave my mind. Black Panther never left my mind either, but I wanted to see Black Panther itself. And dude, there's a scene where he's in the ancestral plane talking to his dad, and when he came up off the ground, son, waterworks. Just I miss you, Chad. I'm not even Chadwick with him. I'm just Chad with him. You know, he's just Chad to me. Never met the guy, but Jesus, man, if there's a guy out there that could have been like a pal or a best friend, dude, that's one of them, man. But let's talk about the last movie of the MCU Phase 4, the last chapter, the last thing here, and let's get right into the movies that he was into. So we have him. His first movie was Civil War, Captain America: Civil War. Then his second movie was the Black Panther movie itself. All these movies, 1-2 great hits already. Infinity War was his third movie, another hit, and then we have Endgame. So in those 4 movies of seeing the Black Panther, of course, he had his moments in the last 2 of Endgame and also Infinity War, where he really wasn't in it until he was in it. Any favorite scenes? Any favorite standout moments for you, Al?
Actually, despite Black Panther being obviously his solo dedicated movie, my favorite scenes for him are mostly from Civil War and then Infinity War. No, I would have to I take it back. It's Civil War because, just the one-liners, because for a character, you don't think of one-liners coming from,
right.
When they're doing the fight scene at the airport and what's his name?
Don't do it. Hawkeye?
Hawkeye goes to introduce himself and he goes, "Oh, by the way, he goes, I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care."
Kid, and just the way they introduce him and bring him into the story, and you feel the power of that character right from those little scenes. So like that was my favorite. Now, favorite scenes for him as a character, despite the big drawn out movie he had where you would think it would be his solo movie. For me, it was Civil War was his standout.
Yeah. It's funny. I think Civil War and Black Panther, the movie, stand out to me. And it's funny because right after Black Panther came out, all my black brothers and sisters, plus my Latino brothers who thought they could say the Wakandan accent, I'm like, guys, stop. Just fucking stop. Nikia. Or like you would see the people on TikTok, M'Baku. Even myself, I can't even lie. Like one of my favorite scenes is of course when M'Baku comes out to fight T'Challa for the king. And we will not have it today. You want to talk like them, you want to be like them, you want to be there, and it's
Forrest Whitaker wanted to be there for sure.
Oh, Forrest Whitaker, he gave it his all, brother. He really tried.
So hard.
Zuri
The power of the Black Panther has been stripped.
has been stripped away. Has been stripped away.
He tried so hard.
Dude, I gotta stop. I could do this all day. Yeah, those scenes were incredible. But to be real with you guys, if I have to be honest, like a standout moment for me also, and it's like something so small and trivial, but it was so fucking cool to see, is when him and Captain America start running towards the villains, the monsters that were coming in through the one section of the wall that they opened up in Infinity War,
Yeah.
and you see them with the crowd, and then all of a sudden you see Captain America and Black Panther kind of leaving the crowd because they're faster, they're stronger, and then they both of them jump up to go fight the bad guys. I thought that was just insane. Just again,
Yeah.
this is the image of the two of them running in front of everybody, our leaders. It was just absolutely insane, man. Brandon, how about yourself, brother? Give me a favorite memory, whether it's in any four of those movies.
I would say the two things for me, and this actually goes with what Al said. The first one for me is just Civil War was such a
Mm-hmm.
strong invitation to seeing the Black Panther. Like it was
Okay.
just he presented himself so awesome, and just like the one-liners, like the cool little musings that he would say, like just little
Mhm.
liners there, like when Zemo was gonna
I
shoot
never
himself.
freeze. I
Right,
never
it's just
freeze.
little things like that. Like Zemo was gonna kill himself, and he stops and goes, "The living aren't done with you yet." Like I was
Yo,
like,
dude, are we doing this whole episode with the Wakandan accent?
we are, because he's from Brooklyn. So Chadwick was from Brooklyn. So yes, we are.
Oh god.
so
Oh
so
goodness.
that whole Civil War entrance, and then on the contrast to Civil War, how Black Panther was there because he just had to get Bucky. Like that was the whole point was Bucky. He
Right.
didn't care about anybody, but to then become a team member, and where Infinity War happens, I'm sorry, Endgame happens, and he calls out
Right.
Clint's name, and he calls for Clint, and it was this cool moment where it was just like, oh shit, he remembered his name, like like
It was important.
it was important, and so just to see the growth of his character to Endgame, from being the stoic I'm on my own to opening up his country to the world, to opening up himself to the world. So that was a cool
Right.
thing.
Yeah, man, and not for nothing. Again, this movie's called Wakanda Forever because they're gonna highlight more than likely the I guess we could say the country itself in Africa, Wakanda, the of course made up country, or is it? Because
It's
it's
there.
hidden.
I've seen
Uh,
it.
it's the country in Africa there that they're making it out to be this special place that's just had advanced technology, had advanced education, advanced everything. They were basically the best in the world without the world knowing. And let's talk about Wakanda itself. I mean, again, I had the luxury of watching watching Black Panther last night, so I got to kind of relook at it and try to visualize, like, hey, what is this going to be in the part two? You have the almost like a magnetic train system actually in the town and also underneath the town. You have skyscrapers that had different markings for the different tribes or the different ways of like their culture showing on the actual buildings itself. The spaceships, the spaceships that they rode in was crazy cool looking, kind of like Star Warsy for me, but at the same time very advanced. But if you look at it from the top angle or for the bottom angle, it's a symbolism of an African mask. It was really cool stuff, man. And I don't know if there's anything that stood out to you guys from the movie that you think we're going to see here in Wakanda Forever. But is there anything about Wakanda that you guys really remember or it stays with you? Anything for you, Brandon, in regards to Wakanda itself?
I would say for me, it was customs and tradition. So even though
Ah,
they were an advanced civilization because of the vibranium, they still had traditional customs. And it
mm-hmm.
was a powerful part of their culture that even in the selection of the king, where he had to battle for it, they had those 5 different areas of people who
Well,
had
the five
to,
tribes they called them
five
that had
tribes,
grown up.
they
Yeah,
they had to come in and put in their vote. They had to put in their customs. They had to put it all together. And so, as advanced as they are, having skyscrapers hidden behind an invisible force field spaceships, all these things, they were still very true to the culture.
The Jabari will not fight today. We are doing this shit in all Wakanda.
We are doing it totally.
Oh, Martha, Martha. Cool, cool. You guys got to watch this on YouTube, man. Brandon's doing the little shake thing. This is crazy. This is awesome. Oh my goodness. Al, how about for you, man? Anything about Wakanda that stood out that you still remember or still have in your mind?
Um, I won't say that stood out, but actually, well, in a way, was what you guys were saying. Their isolationism. They were by choice isolated from the rest of the world.
Right.
So, like you said, they had this shield that made the rest of the world think that they were some, for lack of a better expression, backward country. Like they didn't let the world know about their technology and how advanced they were. And I'm curious as to what the impact of T'Challa bringing them into the world has on their culture.
Right.
Now that they don't have just themselves to interact with, now that they are going to be on a global level, are they still how well are they able to stay true to those cultures? Um, what influence has the world knowing about them had on them as a people? Has it affected their ability to operate within their dynamics that they were used to for
Right.
for their whole life? So that I'd be interested to see, especially given the context and the events of what they're going through in this movie and so forth. So it's it just from the few couple of lines that they've released in this preview, there's going to be a lot going on, and it seems like it's going to be a powerful movie. So
Yeah.
just to see how that impacts, because you see some of these, I think there's still some tribes that they talk about in some of these countries that have not
Mhm.
had interaction with modern man. So to see how they are, where now, in essence, they're the modern man, because their
Right.
technology and everything is so far advanced from the rest of the world. Is there an attempt to pull from the rest of the world to pull out, make them share? Like, is there conflicts now with the rest of the world trying to make them share this technology, and how do they respond to that? And there's a lot to hopefully see them express in this one movie, but that was
Yeah.
the one thing I remember was even thinking it then was, how would this people react if they were ever to be found out and then
Gotcha.
brought into the rest of the world?
Yeah, I mean, on that same respect, Brandon, I mean, that is how we left off Black Panther at the end of that movie, but then we still had Infinity War and Endgame afterwards. And again, there's a 5-year time jump. But at the end of Black Panther, he had mentioned how he wanted to open up Wakanda to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I just find it a little bit curious because if you think about the heroes now, they pretty much all press a button or something happens where their stuff materializes in front of them, which is the first time we saw that was with Black Panther. Then
Mhm.
Yeah.
Infinity War, I think we saw Iron Man kind of touch his thing, but I think he said it was nanobites. He didn't say it was what's the
Vibranium. No.
vibranium, right?
No.
Yeah, but he had to have gotten that technology from them or
It,
from
it feels like it,
Shuri
right?
or something. Yeah,
Because Spider-Man also, but I think Spider-Man, of course, his suit comes from Iron Man as well. So I'm not sure if it's nanobites or whatever. So
yeah,
yeah, pretty
I mean,
interesting.
I would say, the interesting thing that you mentioned is that there was a 5-year time jump, and
Hmm.
T'Challa wasn't part of it. And so it's interesting to see that what happened in those 5 years for Wakanda without its king,
Right.
and then what now Wakanda does without its king again.
Hmm.
They get
Very
their king
interesting.
back because essentially he does come back, so now that the king is gone again, what happens to this country? Where'd it go after he had opened it up and then he got snapped? And then where does it go now that he's gone?
Right. And in that sense, also, there's rumors that the movie is taking place in that 5 years and also the future, or is it just the future? And that's the part where we're not sure. There's a scene in the commercials where I believe it's Queen Ramonda, who's played by the amazing and lovely Angela Bassett, where she says, "I've lost everyone." And to us, Shuri's alive, unless they're trying to hint that Shuri dies in the movie somehow, some way. I'm assuming this is happening within that 5 year time jump, that time frame of when the snap, because
Mhm.
that's the only time I can assume where Shuri and also T'Challa are gone at the same time. Have you heard anything to that effect, Al? If it's happening within that 5 year time jump, or if this is after the fact?
No, that's what I've heard the same thing, that that there was theories that the movie is set during the blip,
Hmm.
and that's how they're explaining T'Challa being gone. Which I like that idea only because it gives them an out in case they decide to recast Black
Right.
Panther. If they do decide to say, you know what, we are going to recast T'Challa, and bring the character back, they can go behind the fact that the events of this movie with him being gone were based
Hmm.
on the blip, and that this was how they responded with him being
Hmm.
gone, during those 5 years, and then the next movie could take place in the modern time of the universe.
They could flip it like that. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
so I like that it gives them that out if they do that.
Right.
If they're gonna stay firm, and I can respect them if they stick to this choice. If they stick firm to their original statement, which is they're not recasting the role, that's it, the role died with Chadwick,
Right.
then do it. Then I hope it's not during the blip, because then it doesn't make sense to stay committed to not replacing the character,
Hmm.
and that to have the events of him being gone be during the blip, knowing that supposedly then he comes back. And what are you going to have to readdress the fact that now he's gone again? I
Right.
would just I would just assume that they just do it the one time in this movie, if that's what they're gonna do.
Gotcha. How about you, Brandon? Any preference to the storytelling time period? Like, would you want this to be in that 5 year gap of Infinity War and Endgame, or would you want this to be something like afterwards, or does it matter to you?
You know, I'm not sure. I
Hmm.
feel like for continuity's sake, that maybe it should be after the blip. But
Right.
I also have that feeling that like we got glimpses of what the blip was for people, you know, through the first couple shows.
Right.
And then we kind of moved past it. And for me, I feel like we didn't truly get the feel of the blip. And so I kind of took one of Ryan Coogler's interviews. He talked about what this movie was going to be before
Mhm.
Chadwick's death. And he had talked about it as regardless, this was going to be a movie about grief. You know, it was
Really?
gonna
Wow.
it was still going to be a movie about grief with Chadwick in it. You know, and just understanding that he had lost 5 years and so many things had changed without its king. You know, and he
Hmm.
had a sense of responsibility for that. And it was still going to be Namor or Namor, as he goes by now. You know,
Okay,
um,
now he's Latino.
he's Latino. He's an Aztec. God damn it. So you know, it was always going to be Namor, but it was going to be with him dealing with grief in the 5 years.
Right.
And so for me, I actually do like the idea of it being during the blip, because then we
Right.
can get a sense of how the blip affected other people, because we got
Absolutely.
certain things, like we got how the blip affected the world's government through Captain America and the Winter
Hmm.
Soldier. We got how the blip affected certain superheroes and WandaVision. And
Right.
then that's really it. It kind of stopped there. And Spider-Man, you know,
Yeah.
it kind of stopped at that point. And we know it's an event that really affected people. And so it'd be nice if we had another look at what happened during the blip. But I also think for continuity's sake, because we're accelerating past this point now, that
Right.
maybe we should have a movie that's put in our current continuity.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think you guys kind of worded it perfectly. It'd be the perfect out to understanding why the Black Panther is not in this movie, what happened, without kind of like there's a big deal about Chadwick Boseman's character T'Challa not being in this movie and Chadwick Boseman's character not being recast, right? T'Challa not being recast, and I'm completely understanding of that thought process, that mind frame of saying that. This would kind of give them an easy out because you get your not disrespecting his legacy, his character, the way he acted, and himself by not promoting the next movie he was supposed to be in with somebody else. But then I also see the benefits of it being in this 5 year time period. And then when we come out of it, it is recasted because he came back 5 years later and now it's somebody else. We can kind of go from that. So yeah, there's some plus and minuses on that. And I kind of understand that. And again, I know this movie is Wakanda Forever, but a big deal has to do with T'Challa's character not being alive. And of course, we want to take respect to Chadwick Boseman as a real person in real life. He's not T'Challa, but at the same time, the way he acted as T'Challa, he really brought him to life and made it his own person. And it's just incredible what he did with that guy, and also all the roles that he pretty much took on to.
Yeah.
How are you guys feeling about this movie? Kind of like, like with this whole recast T'Challa movement, a lot of people are, on both sides of the argument. They're saying you should recast him because this is a character that should move on in life, and we should have a character like T'Challa and Black Panther continue on. Or the people who keep saying, listen, we don't want to disrespect Chadwick Boseman, and this is all in honor of him, not to recast him. Do you guys have a preference as to whether or not they do recast the character or anything like that for you guys? How about you, Al?
Um, it's tough
All right.
because when they first said that they were not going to recast, my initial gut reaction was to appreciate that decision.
Right.
But at the same time, like you just said, I think they can recast. Um, it seems like they're treating his passing respectfully, and I think if they were to make the decision to continue the character and to, in an appropriate way, announce the recasting and so forth, I think it can be done and not
Right.
be disrespectful to Chadwick and what he did. I think they've shown through honest efforts. I mean, there's a whole movie coming out where because they refused to recast. Um, I think it can come off that they genuinely did not mean any disrespect by recasting.
Right.
But at the same time, showing respect to a character that can continue, and to a lot of fans must continue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they can find a delicate way of balancing the respect to Chadwick, his legacy, and what he did for the role, while respecting the fans' desire to see the character continue to be portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they've recast in the past. They're doing it right now with Ant-Man's daughter. They did it with
Doing it with General Ross right now.
yeah, they
Yeah.
recast, the passing of William Hurt. They're bringing in Harrison Ford. They did it with what's his name?
They did it with Ant-Man's daughter 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, why am I drawing a blank?
Rhodey?
Yeah, Rhodey. There you go. They did it with Rhodey.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Terrence
was for
Howard
obvious
for
reasons. Yeah,
our new roadie right now.
yeah. I mean, that was over
Don
contract
Cheadle.
arguments, but
Don
yeah.
Cheadle.
But I think that was a good move. I mean, nothing against what's his name, but I think Don Cheadle did a great job with the role. But they've done it, so it's not like this is breaking precedent. So I can see them again doing it and doing it respectfully, and finding a valid way of bringing the character back
Mm-hmm.
and doing it in a way that explains why they even look different. Because I think you have to address that. Like I don't think they can just ignore it.
Right.
So if they can do it in a way that addresses why he looks different, why he's acting different, speaking different, um, I could find them doing a good way of transitioning that over while
Right.
maintaining the respect. And I hope they do that if that's what they're looking to do. Because I'm in agreement that with those that are making the argument that the character should continue.
Right.
Um, Although, like I said at the beginning, I was in agreement that what, let the character stay quiet. Leave the character
Right.
alone for now.
For now, exactly. Give it
Yeah,
some time. Lots of time.
Yeah.
How about you, Brenda? Where do you fall on that aspect? Because I do understand a lot of people saying it's kind of hypocritical to say that you're never going to recast this, but then the minute General Ross, the actor plays William Hurt, is it?
Yeah.
As soon as he passes away, you're like, well, we'll get Harrison Ford. And this is like, wait, really? Like that fast? Like we just had this whole thing. And while I completely understand the intention of Marvel and their people who are controlling the whether or not they recast T'Challa or anything like that, they did it with probably the utmost respect to the family and to Chadwick.
Yeah.
But there's another part of us that again we want to see T'Challa. We want to see the Black Panther on the screen. What about you?
I mean, I think I saw the argument there for General Ross, and it was interesting to me because I think the issue is that when it comes to a character like General Ross and the Red Hulk, with no disrespect to the previous actor or Harrison Ford, there is a General Ross. And so essentially recasting General Ross, with no disrespect to the actor who passed away, the stories say that we want a General Ross and that we're going to have a Red Hulk because that precedes the Hulk story, you know? But on the other hand, there isn't always a T'Challa.
Mm-hmm.
T'Challa has a son, Azari, who is a young Avenger, but then also takes over the mantle of Black Panther. Shuri has also taken on the mantle of Black Panther. And these are all happening in the stories, in the comics. And so while T'Challa is often brought in as the Black Panther, and he is in most continuities the Black Panther,
Right.
the stories continue without him because of his actual death and because of succession and things like that. And so, whereas Red Hulk, there is only one Red Hulk, there are many Black Panthers.
The mantle passes on.
The mantle passes on because even in the comics, T'Chaka was the Black Panther for a long time
Right.
before it passed on to T'Challa. And so I can see the case for we want T'Challa because of what Chadwick Boseman brought to the character of T'Challa and Black Panther. But I could also see how they can continue the succession of the Black Panther in their movies by
Right.
bringing in the family lineage of T'Challa.
All right. I mean, and listen, and speaking about Wakanda Forever and also Black Panther, this being a sequel to the original Black Panther, Marvel does this fun thing where it's like where it's all connected, but when they do a part two, they really kind of jump off of the last part one of the movie, even though it's part of a series that's connected. It really jumps off of the last one. And again, you guys are talking about the family and the different characters in there. Brandon mentioned Shuri. There were a bunch of characters in Black Panther that really stood out. We got Okoye, we got Shuri, we got Nakia, Umbaku again. We have Queen Brahmanda, the family, the people from Wakanda, the leaders. And I just wanted to see what you guys thought about those characters there, because again, with the quick refresher from last night watching Black Panther, you have Nakia, who was on missions to save and rescue people. We had Okoye as the leader of the the Dora Milaje.
Dormalaje, yeah.
Oh wow, I got that one good. Scarlett Johansson. Had to get one thing wrong today, so let's just throw it in there now. It's Johansson. I know people. It's Johansson, but I always say Johansson. I always make her super Irish. We have Shuri, who is the technician, the man in the chair kind of knows, is like, she is the technology guru. She's the head of the technology division in Wakanda, creating all the stuff, including the Black Panther suits, the different engineering marvels that she creates. I remember she had the beads that were kind of like doing all different types of things. She created what she called them sneakers, where they just like the foot. They were the soles of a sneaker. The person puts their foot on it, it turns into a big Black Panther boot. And we have Queen Ramonda, of course, just Angela Bassett killing it. But those four characters are the main ones. M'Baku had his scenes in there, and he just was, again, he had that one great moment when he fought, he fought T'Challa in Black Panther, and then he had his scene also in Infinity War. Great characters. are there any of those guys stick out to you? I know for me, like Okoye stood out a lot. Nakia stood out a lot, especially in the scene where they went to go get Ulysses Claw in, I believe it was Korea. I think they went to in the movie of Black Panther, and they went to disturb this like exchange of Wakanda vibranium for diamonds or something with Everett Ross, and that scene was just freaking amazing and cool. That whole fight scene and everything. So those two always stood out to me, Okoye and Nakia. How about for you, Al? Shuri, Nakia, Okoye? Anybody stands out to you the most, or do you want to see again right away?
Actually, I'm liking the things that I hear that they all play a big role to the point where I think some people were speculating that are there multiple Black Panthers? Um,
Mm-hmm.
because when you were saying rattling off all their names right now, it reminded me how in Black Panther they all portrayed for me a different aspect of a personality, with T'Challa balancing them all together.
Mm-hmm.
You have M'Baku being the force. He was the you know power, strength, and then you have all the other characters with Shuri, intelligence. Nakia was the guile and the cunning. So they all had like a different influence on T'Challa, and then T'Challa blended them all together.
Mm-hmm.
So in honoring him not being there, I like the idea of them all being prominent in this new movie
Mm-hmm.
to still show the balance of his overall personality. So I
Right.
would like that the idea that was put out there of them all being a dominant part of this movie and balancing out the movie. I like that aspect, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. I hope that actually does play out in this movie, because I think they all bring something to the table, so to speak, and would like to see how that plays out in this movie.
Right. How about for you, Brandon? Any specific like characters or person that stood out to you that you would want to see in this movie?
I mean, I just want to see more Okoye. I think she's incredible. She was one of my favorite parts of the first Black Panther. Just kind of being like his advisor, but also like kicking ass more so than the Black Panther. Like to the
Yeah.
point where in the original Black Panther, she was fighting her husband and didn't care if she killed him or not. Like
She's protecting the king.
that's it. That's her job.
That's it. That's the job. Over there from the Jabati tribe.
And he said he's like, even me, my love. She's like, even you.
Absolutely, man. And he was responsible for guarding the, I guess,
Guarding
the
like the
perimeter of
perimeter. Yeah.
Wakanda. And he was also part of the team that was taking care of those gigantic fucking rhinos. Jesus. So I wonder if those guys are gonna pop up again. Let's talk about like villains of this movie, because I think we're gonna do the whole anti-hero thing with Namor. Because of course we all know Namor
Namor.
is excuse me, he's Latino now. Namor. So now that, I mean, you know what? Let's talk about that real quick. What do you guys take with them changing Namor to not be from Atlantis, and now kind of like in a cool way to maybe me and not you guys, but to me, a cool way of kind of like saying, you know what? Let Aquaman deal with Atlantis. DC, you could have that one. We're gonna change Namor to not be from Atlantis, so it doesn't seem like it's the same bite off of Aquaman. We're gonna make him from the Aztec culture. What is it, Tolocan? They're saying.
Telecon, yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, Brandon, what's your first take of the change of Namor's background and origin?
I think it's awesome. It is something they did in the comics.
They
So it
did
is
do that in the
recent.
comics.
Yeah, it's recent in the comics.
Oh
Um,
wow, I did not know
so
that.
they did follow. It's like the new Namor storyline, which is good because it's the same thing. Like they don't want to have their own Aquaman per se. They want him to stand out other than the wings on his feet. And so I think it's actually a really cool touch, especially for this movie, given how cultural Black Panther has been in representation for minority culture. You now included a Latino superhero, well, anti-hero,
Let's
who
go.
that's what we do, I guess, right? you know. He's gonna come in. He's like, I hate all the orphans in the whole world. All of
I hate.
them. I hate
Oh my
all the
god!
orphans.
Everything you said is everything I like.
We just made him the freaking nacho.
Nacho. I like poopies. All right. Wait. Namor is not.
He is not nacho.
He is Nacho Libre. He is not Nacho Libre.
He could be. I don't know. But I think it's awesome. I like the
Yeah.
touch, and then I like what this can do for him because it's explicitly stated that yes, he is the quote unquote villain of this movie, but that doesn't mean
Mhm.
he's the villain of this movie. I like that this doesn't mean
Oh,
that this ends with him dying. This ends
right.
with a new understanding and a potential push to see how this expands even further for culture and for heroes.
Gotcha. And
Mhm.
how about for you, Alan? What do you think about the whole culture change and also possibly being the first? Well, I mean, listen, in the comic books, Namor is listed as the first mutant. And I find
Mhm.
it very interesting. We had the little in Miss Marvel, but no one has said mutant. This is going
Yeah.
to be probably the first time we hear the M word in a Marvel movie.
Hopefully, we'll see. I mean, like B was saying, I like that they got rid of the distraction of the comparison between him and Aquaman.
Right.
Is this the MCU's Aquaman and so forth? This way, there's no comparison. There's no similar. There's nothing similar to them other than they live under the water. That's it.
Hmm.
So I like that they got rid of that distraction. Um, as far as it being the mutant, I wouldn't mind if they just touch on it, kind of like they did with Miss Marvel, where they make a reference or they say maybe even say the word mutant now.
They're going to
I
have
think
to.
now
Kid.
that
My
they
man has
can,
fucking wings on his feet.
and he flies. Yeah,
Like, dude, that looks like a mutation. Are you a mutant?
mutant. Yeah. So I wouldn't
Are
mind if
you
they
a
say the word because I
inbred?
think they can now. Because I think weren't they like I think on the
Yeah, they couldn't
rights
when
they couldn't say
Fox had
mutant.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that they can say mutant, I wouldn't mind if they say mutant. I just don't want it to take over the story of him being a
Right.
mutant. Um, and I want to see what's the issue because, like you said, he comes in as the anti-hero, the bad guy or whatever, but does he end up being the good guy at the end? Because, like I said last week, one of the lines from the trailer that caught me was when he says to Queen Ramonda, he goes, is Wakanda an ally, or are you siding with the land people?" So I don't think they are fighting like right
Mhm.
from jump. I think
Right.
some event occurs in the movie, and Wakanda takes the side of opposing him, as opposed to they were already outright
Right.
antagonists. So I want to see what's the event, what's the occurrence that happens where he has to force Wakanda to take a side, and for
Mhm.
the time being, Wakanda sides against them.
Gotcha.
You
Very
know,
deep.
so yeah, because like I think somebody like with the clip with Nakia where you see the Aztec um, pyramid in the
Pyramid right
background.
behind her. Yeah.
Yeah, like so it looks like at some point maybe they were together, maybe they worked together.
Hmm.
So I want to see that background between the two and see how it evolves and translates into this outright battle at the end because it looks crazy with the two of them fighting
Oh man,
with the
a
two
bunch of stuff
sides.
looks crazy. I mean, if we
Yeah.
see the trailers, you see there's people that are actually like bluish in color
Hmm.
that looks like they come from wherever
Yeah.
Namor is coming from, whether it's Tolokan or
Well, because he's a
underwater or
mix,
whatever.
right?
He's supposed to be a mix of the two. He's supposed to be birthed by a human, no, birthed by a Atlantean, but from a human man or something like that. You
Father,
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, let's see if
Like
they how
a dad?
what is a fascia?
What is father for 200?
Dick. Oh man. I listen, it's so crazy because out of this movie, I think I've seen two trailers. The first one, the first one to let us know Wakanda Forever is coming out, which was about 2-3 months ago, and then the newest one that just came out that shows a little bit more of Namor. And I gotta say, for this movie being about 2 hours and 45 minutes, I heard this is gonna be one of the
Oh
long ones.
Jesus.
We haven't seen shit. Like there's so
Mm-mm.
much, and I mean, listen. Granted, YouTube's trying to fucking ruin it. They keep putting out trailers and behind the scenes and all this stuff. I just keep hide it, hide it. Don't want to look at it, hide it. I want to be surprised by this movie, And I really feel like it has a chance to be a great one because Phase 4 has not been great. If you listen to our previous podcast about Phase 4, you know how we all kind of feel about Phase 4, kind of like letting us down a little bit. I'm hoping Wakanda Forever is that movie that brings us back to, Phase 3, Phase 2 Marvel. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Um, with this movie coming out and it being so long, are there any surprises you guys are looking forward to seeing or hearing? And it's kind of like wishful thinking because right now I feel like Marvel constantly is like, look at this, but no, we're not going to do it. Here and there they've given us a little bit of something here and there. They gave us Reed Richards and in the Multiverse of Madness there they did give us kind of Kang in Loki. But after that, I mean, there was a lot of speculation about Mephisto, speculation about who's going to show up in Captain America was going to show up in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and all these different things that we really didn't get. So let's keep it like, I guess, just hopeful, wishful thinking there. Al, any kind of surprise that you really want to see in this movie?
Since you touched on mutants, if they allude to Storm, because I think
Ooh, my brother.
She's from
yeah,
Africa.
Yes.
yeah. So if they allude to Storm, even if they just say, "Oh, so and so's," it always rains when so and so. Like if they can just make some reference
Uh-huh.
to there being a member of one of the tribes or something, and
Yeah.
weather, and then even if you show the character with the white hair and so forth, I wouldn't mind. You've already made reference to Wolverine and She-Hulk. You already gave us Professor X in Multiverse of Madness. If you can give us like a Storm reference, that'd be
Right.
great. That'd be a good surprise
I
considering
like that
the
one, Al. I
yeah.
like that one a lot. Listen, everyone has been talking about Doctor Doom possibly being in this movie. I feel like Doctor Doom is going to be the Mephisto. It's going to be this thing that we all want. We keep hearing rumors about it, and there's not a freaking thing about it. So I'm not holding my hope on Doctor Doom. However, I am holding my hope for another villain, which is Killmonger. I feel like Eric Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan, will be in this movie out of respect for Coogler, also respect for Chadwick Boseman, and also just out of coolness that he will be somehow, some way involved in this film. Whether it's again, we kind of see that Shuri's playing the Black Panther in this movie somehow, some way. I mean, we haven't necessarily seen her, but there's so many hints that it's Shuri.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Shuri goes into the ancestral plane somehow, some way, and instead of seeing Chadwick Boseman, we see Killmonger. Or hey, listen, there's things about being resurrected in Talocan. If they bring Killmonger back, I'm all for it, dude. I'm all for it. All for it. So I wanted to say Storm, but Al stole it from me. Uh, so I quickly, because I'm so good at this, came up with Killmonger. But it's true. I would not mind seeing Eric Killmonger one more time.
Mhm.
B Dog, talk to me, my man. What is a surprise you would want to see?
I'm this goes back to what Al said before, and looking into the trailers and all the scenes of the people on the boat and the Talakan writing on one wall in one boat, and then another boat you have Wakandans and such. I
Mm,
feel like there's someone behind the curtain.
mm,
And I don't know if this is a Kang. I don't know if this is a Doctor Doom, but there is someone behind the curtain on this one. And I feel
okay.
like the someone behind the curtain here is what progresses us into phase 5.
Wow. Okay, so
Okay.
Brandon's not giving us any specifics, but Brandon's saying there's someone that's manipulating everything. Someone's on the computers putin, as Cameron used to say. Oh man, I love it. But yeah, man, listen, I am completely looking forward to this movie. Besides surprises, I just want a real good movie. And I want
Yeah.
Jesus, I don't want to cry in this movie, but I feel like they're gonna make me.
I'm gonna fucking cry all
I'm gonna
movie.
Brandon almost cried in Black Panther 1. Let's just put it out there. The movie ended and Brandon said he wasn't worthy. So So I can't even imagine with this one touching on, T'Challa's death in this movie. But I am looking forward to a great movie. And I feel like Phase 4 has been trying to change the narrative. No, stick to the fucking formula. Let's just keep it great stories, great characters, great moments, great action. I just want to see it, man. Not for nothing. I also would want to see, meaning if this is like paying respect to T'Challa's character passing away in this thing, there better be some Avengers there to pay their respects also. So, I would love to see maybe either Captain America himself, Chris Evans in this movie, the White Panther, what's his name? The
The
Winter
White
Soldier,
Wolf.
the White Wolf, excuse me,
The
White Wolf.
White Panther.
So yeah, I would
we
love
don't
to
need
see.
Forrest Whitaker coming back.
Yeah,
The
dude.
bowels of the White Panther.
Yeah. So somebody from the Avengers needs to be there. Whether it's Samuel L. Jackson, someone should be paying respect for America or from the U.S. or from that Avengers team that fought alongside him. It should not be just the Wakandans there. There should be somebody representing us too. And I just thought of that now. I was just like, yo, you know what? They should all be there, man. So especially, you got your arm from them, Winter Soldier. So I'm hoping
we
you're
don't
there to
trade
pay
lives.
We don't trade lives.
Trades all of Wakanda.
Open defense. Field 7.
Vision, we don't trade lives. Get the Wakandans out there.
Terrible. Oh man. So yeah, man, listen. I am looking forward to seeing this movie. I am excited. I cannot wait for Thursday night. Fellas, any last words on Wakanda Forever, this prep here?
Bring a towel.
Yep.
For the sweat, Brandon, or for the tears?
For the tears. It's gonna be raining in that theater.
Al, how about you, man? Any last words, man, before we see this exciting next chapter?
Yeah, Sam now, because I don't think anybody's going to want to talk after because everybody's going to be all choked up.
Oh, man.
That's what I keep hearing. So,
okay. All right. So listen, guys out there, go get your tickets. If not for Thursday, get it for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Because after that, you guys already know. I'm surprised there's not spoilers out there right now. There probably is. I just don't know it. But you guys got to be careful out there, especially if you love movies and you don't want that surprise ruined for you. Try to see the movie in the first 4 days. And if it's great, go see it again. If it doesn't, hey, wait till Disney Plus gets it in another 2-3 months. But definitely try to go see it this weekend because we will be talking about the Wakanda Forever review on our next podcast. So if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button on YouTube so you can watch us talk about it and laugh along with us and cry along with us too. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, hit that plus symbol so that every time we put out a podcast, that our next podcast comes up for you to listen to and you can laugh with us in the car or on your way to wherever you're going. We are the Real Fan Review from Long Island, New York. Saying goodnight is my brother Pete.
Adios, everybody.
We got our man in the chair, Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
Myself, Hav, saying Wakanda Forever. We'll see you on the next podcast. Until next time.